Okay, so we're going to be using TrID. TrID is a file identifier. It works by identifying file types based on their binary signatures. It uses libraries to identify signatures, and we're going to be using the 64-bit version, which is the GUI version, but it also comes in a command line version as well. So for this, we're going to be extracting malware from a lab that we have, and we're going to go from there. Now we need to extract the actual malware. This is a malware sample I got from a previous course I took. Simply because we're using Flare VM, it has a bunch of different tools for extraction. But for this, we're going to use 7-zip. 7-zip works pretty well. So we're just going to extract it right here to the desktop. Let it go ahead and do its thing. Put our password in. Okay. We just extracted it. There's our lab. Now, obviously, for this executable that was produced right here, it's obviously an .exe file type, but we don't know that for sure. And of course, when going through and doing reverse engineering, why would a budget report be in .exe format? It should be like a PDF or something. So this is where TrID comes in. So first, we're gonna open our TrID. As you can see, there's a 05 TrID and 06. We're actually using 06, which is the 64-bit in executable format. Now, as this opens up, it's going to be loading the definitions, right? So we have a preset of definitions. As you can see, there's 13,848. It uses these definitions to recognize signatures, and you could actually train TrID to actually be able to find the definitions. Now, our actual, there it is. Our actual definitions are this whole file right here. So it has this file right here is the tridefs.trd. That's actually the definitions that we're going to be using for this one. And as you can see, there's a bunch of them. Now, the easiest way to identify the actual file extension is to go into the malware folder that we just unzipped and to simply drag and drop the file that we want to recognize into the file. Okay, so we see with malware 1, and I added a couple of extra malwares samples in here. We see that budget report doesn't give us anything, right? So it says null right here. That means it can't really identify the executable, likely because it doesn't have the definition. But we see that it's actually a executable .exe extension, right? So let's just say I have another one open. Here's another file called financials -xls. Now, why would a XLS file be exe? Okay, so if we drag that into our TrID, so as soon as we get it in there, we can see that when it runs a scan, it's a 55, because remember, this is packed, right? So all these are packed together. So it's 55% exe UPX compressed. That means it's packed. It's a 32-bit Windows executable, 13.4% dynamic linked list. So that means it affects something in the memory, and the rest is all executables, right? Now, That's fine when we know that it's an executable. We know that financial status XLS is an executable. But what happens when a file is actually not clearly identified, right? So this is another malware sample, right? And this malware sample is called sample.bin, meaning it's a binary file, right? So normally you see a binary file, you say, okay, that is something that's going to be, it could literally be anything, right? It could be executable, it could be a PDF, it could be whatever, right? All we know is it's a binary file. But we drag and drop this into our TrID. It gives us a little bit different results, right? It's a Windows control panel, 85.8%, right? That means it's going to be going into Windows and doing some configuration. It's also 4.6 executable, Windows 64, another 2.9% for Windows 32 dynamic linked list library, and the rest is executable. So we see right now that this sample.bin is actually not a binary file. It's actually a control panel file. And if you look more into it, you can see that it scans 76 files to get this. You can go and get more definitions, and it gives us a little bit more information about who's the actual author of this. So you see it's Yanga Okwan or Yanga at gmail.com. So we can see who actually either created it or packed it together or whatnot. So you see the valuable use of TrID. TrID allows us to go into detail of who actually created the file, the extensions, and if you get down to it, you can, when a host or a malware is downloaded, you can identify things like if it's actually what it says it is. This is the basis of essentially reverse engineering malware attacks, because once you learn what the extension is, you can learn what the actual purpose of this actual file is. And this is how malware evades virus detection. And cybersecurity professionals, by scooting over and say, hey, this is a binary file, but in reality, once you activate it or once it's downloaded, it actually is something else. This is process hollowing. This is essentially how malwares get into systems. Here's the gist. I need your help. Go vote for Elevate for Mr. Health and Fitness 2024. And when I win, I'll be featured in Muscle and Fitness magazine and get a grand prize of $20,000. It's for a good cause. Donations go to the Andrew McDonough B Plus Foundation, which focuses on financial assistance to families, funds childhood cancer research, and brings awareness to fight childhood cancer. The vote is free, but donate a little bit for a good cause. F cancer. Follow the link in the description to vote for me. Yeah! We've correctly identified this sample, Malware Sampler 3, for example. We're going to change the extension, right? Just as simple as you would change the name. We know it's an executable, and we just go ahead and change that. Now, it says it might become unusable. Okay, that's fine. But we know if we were to run this right now, we know for a fact, just based on using TrID, that it's going to be a Windows control panel item. It's going to be an executable. It's going to go into the memory and do some stuff. And it's actually pretty much just going to be executable again. And we know it's going to be doing something on both the 32-bit Windows and the 64-bit Windows. So that is why we use TrID. Now, to go through our summary, we did a few different things. We used TrID We use the definitions in our TrID library. We extracted a few different malware samples, and we dragged and dropped each one into TrID to identify the extensions. And then after that, we changed the extension to make our one malware sample 3 executable, because it was only a binary file. So we identified correctly what the actual extension was. And then after that, we identified on this particular malware sample 3 some of the stuff that the this is malware is going to be doing. A very brief warning: do not run this file unless you are running it in a controlled environment, i.e. It's a dynamic analysis. You want to see how it works in real time. Do not run this this particular file, because it can cause harm. Right now, I'm running all this on a Windows 10 reverse engineering lab through my virtual box, so I keep it completely separated from my whole system. So with that being said, that's it for this episode, Elevated Engineering. Now, of course, as usual, go make something cool.